Marsh, Jr. served as 14th Secretary of the Army for both Presidents Reagan and George Herbert Walker Bush. During his tenure that began in January 1981, he led the effort that transformed the U.S. Army into the world's premier fighting force. Secretary Marsh brought a wealth of experience to this position. A retired lieutenant colonel, he had served in World War II and during the occupation of Germany, in the Army Reserve and in the Virginia Army National Guard. While in Congress, he volunteered for 30 days active duty in South Vietnam. He also understood Washington, having served 4 terms as a congressman, as an assistant secretary of defense, a vice presidential advisor, and as a counselor to President Ford. He knew America faced threats from other nations, and that the Army must be prepared to meet those threats anywhere and at a moment's notice. He also knew that the Army, with doubts about its recent service, needed to boost its pride and esprit. An ardent student of history, he appreciated that Army history, especially 1781, offered the Army a unique opportunity to learn of its service. He directed the use of Yorktown, Spirit of Victory, as a theme to emphasize the Army heritage of service through its major victory at Yorktown, Virginia in 1781. This use of a value-based theme was so well accepted and successful that Marsh continued the program throughout his tenure. Though Marsh knew that higher esprit would increase the Army's vitality, he knew that he could not grow the size of the Army. He concentrated on its modernization, and during his tenure, he led the most sweeping peacetime modernization in the Army's history. Under Marsh's guidance, numerous new weapon systems were fielded. Among them were the M1 Abrams main battle tank, the M2 Bradley fighting vehicle, the AH-64 Apache helicopter, the multiple launch rocket system, as well as the Pershing II missile and the Patriot air defense missile. He spearheaded a systematic restructuring of the Army, developing a unique mix of heavy and light divisions, re-establishing special operation forces, and adding new active and reserve divisions to the force. He activated the Army Space Command, the 6th Infantry Division Light, the 10th Mountain Division Light Infantry, the 75th Ranger Regiment, and the 1st Special Operations Command, 2 Army National Guard divisions, and the U.S. Army Southern Command. He established Army Aviation and Special Forces as separate branches. Marsh also knew that the Army also needed to retain and develop quality soldiers. He acted to raise the quality of Army recruits. He protected a broad range of family programs and improved health care. Marsh was ably assisted in his efforts. He credits the strong support of Army Chiefs of Staff, Generals Edward Schei Meyer, John Wickham Jr., and Carl Vono, for his success. He also enhanced the credibility of his civilian appointees, and his long service was reflected in his principal civilian assistants. The Marsh Secretariat was characterized by continuity, and the Army's effectiveness owes significantly to this continuity. Finally, as friends of the Army Heritage Center Foundation and the U.S. Army Heritage and Education should know, Secretary Marsh is a great friend of Army history. He renewed the use of battlefield staff rides, taking the Army senior leaders to where soldiers had fought and died. He promoted the program at Army schools and units. One such trip led to the U.S. Army War College Guide to the Battle of Gettysburg, edited by J. Luvis and Brigadier General Hal Nelson. He authorized the publication of the Army Historian, a professional newsletter of the Center of Military History in the fall of 1983, that today lives on as Army History Magazine. Most recently, he and General Schei Meyer facilitated the renewal of the Army's hallway exhibits in the Pentagon that the U.S. Army Heritage and Education Center staff ably supported. Because of his vision and dedication, the Army was more ready and more capable when he departed the office of the Secretary in August 1989. As our Army's longest-serving Secretary, he gave America the strongest peacetime Army in our nation's history that demonstrated its effectiveness to the world during Operations Desert Shield and Desert Storm.